Hello everyone, it's Ian Rob, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be going over one of my most recent stream matches against Snorlax Control and really talk about how I think through this matchup. So, to start, the first most important thing about this matchup, especially as a Dragapult player, is I am trying to have my support cards like Switch and Prime Catcher to each get me a prize. I did not play Canceling Clone at this event, so my odds of beating my opponent was a lot lower if I went for aggressive strategy where I use things like research every turn, discarding my good cards like Boss's Orders. Because usually you want to try and also use cards like Boss as a way to either A, retreat if they use a Rotom, or B, to try to take a prize. Because if your opponent has enough Aries and Misfortune Sisters, you're really not going to be able to win. So this first game is a little bit uneventful as my opponent just has a Snorlax and that is it in his beginning hand. So this game is going to go over very quick, but the next one is very interesting how I play it. So in a spot like this, usually, let's say if they were to only say I mentioned our Pokemon, I would just want to attach, research, pass, or just attach, pass, because my thinking is I want every single card, even Energy Switch, to be an important resource. So I drew everything I needed, so I already have game. I drew an Ultra Ball off that, so I can just go VSTAR for an Energy Switch and an Ultra Ball and win the game. At this point, I'm really just trying to make sure that I guarantee have it. I have enough cards in hand where I can just Nest Ball first, so that I know for a fact I have it. I really like using a card where we're trying when you can guarantee game. I really like using something like a Nest Ball, a Vessel, whatever you have, to double check you have everything before going for the win, because if you don't do that, sometimes you might have made an error when checking your prizes and you actually prize something you thought you didn't. But here, I had everything that I thought I had, and I was able to win the game pretty quickly there. After getting to use V-Star. Excuse me. Yep. Fast forward a second, use V-Star, and I just took Energy Switch, and I use Giratina, and won the game. Pretty uneventful. So, at that point, I was pretty happy, and you only need win the next two. So I'm just going to fast forward here to the next game. So my opponent chose to go second in this matchup, which I actually believe is incorrect, because the thing is that my deck cannot really do much on my first turn, so you might as well, I'm going to pause here because that's something to talk about, but you might as well just go first, get to use an extra Rotom. So one key thing usually in this matchup is you don't want to bench a Radiant Charizard or anything like that, because then it's in very easy Pokemon for your opponent to lock with a counter catcher. The caveat to that is my hand there was not very strong. I had nothing. I had no V-Star. I had nothing to do. So I really prefer not benching Squawkabilly, but my hand was just so poor, I really felt I had to. It is not a choice that you want to be making, benching Squawkabilly, but if you have nothing going on, you just have to do it against a control deck, because since they play 1 to 0 copies of Iono, you might as well just pass. One thing I forgot to mention earlier that's also special about the list I'm playing here is that I do not, along with I said I do not play Canceling Clone, I play a Temple Sinnoh and a Jamming Tower, which makes it so that, excuse me, makes it so that I can knock out Mimikyu with either A, just a Bravery Charm on it, but no Miss Energy, or B, it has a Miss Energy, but no Bravery Charm. I can knock out with a Mew EX at any time, which is something that's actually pretty important, because Mew EX is my only practical way to knock out a Mimikyu. Cornerstone Ogerpon I can deal with Regidrago V, so that's something to keep note of. So my opponent here is just doing the very basic setup, very strong setup, where basically all you do is just try to get 2 Snorlaxes, and you go very aggressively with the flutes. Because the thing is that the way they win this matchup is either A, I don't get to bench all Pokemon I want, or B, they just get to flute down like a Kyurem or Radiant Charizard and lock me. Here, I think it's actually a debate if accompanying Flute is the best card here, because I believe if we look at his hand, he didn't have a copy of Boss's Orders. And the thing is that what I can do on this next turn is just go attack with Dragon Laser, do 30 to a Snorlax, Boss up our Snorlax, and take 2 prizes here with the Jamming Tower that I have in my hand. So I feel that here actually getting a Pokegear might have been pretty strong, because the thing is that then he would be able to get access to, let's check and get Drago. You have access to boss, which is very strong on a board like this, where he could boss my Squawk, which is practically useless at this point. So he's attaching the Fan first, which I agree with because the Cape is a very strong resource, and especially since I play Jamming Tower in my list, which was not in every list at this event, I feel that trying to keep that card is pretty impactful in this match because you want your Cape to be able to protect your other Pokemon. So I'm going to take this matchup pretty slow, like I was saying earlier. So I'm really just trying to think here, what is my best path putting on pressure and not turn on a copy of Counter Catcher until I want to. See, I'm thinking the spot I'm just trying to figure out, like I said, just trying to play around that. I nest ball to see what resources I have. And also, I always try to put down the Mew EX because I do not want Flute to lock me out of the game, because if he's able to flute down another Drago, another Ogerpon, I just cannot be a Mimikyu since I do not play any copies of Canceling Cologne, so I have to prioritize getting down that Mew quick so that, excuse me, so that I cannot get locked out at all. So at this point, I was trying to figure out how aggressive I was going to be. So I ended up going with the Dragon Laser play because I have access to our energy in hand, and I'm going to be able to just, let's see, Section of Fire there, which I believe is the correct spot. But I just have a lot of options, so I'm totally fine with that. And I, again, don't want to take a knockout here because Counter Catcher is going to get turned on, and it's pretty bad for me. I want to force him to show me that he has a copy of Penny. So moving the Fire, where he did, was fine. I was like, okay, but I think it's actually better to go on Ogerpon, because the thing is that Squawk here can actually knock out the Snorlax if he were to boss it. So I feel that moving the energy to Ogerpon so that the Fire is kind of stranded on the Pokemon that, while yes, is actually a pretty solid attacker in the matchup, is not one that I want to be using at all. So he goes to Misfortune Sisters over Eerie, which I think is pretty reasonable. See what he gets. Sees the Fire. He got the Switch. Switch is very strong because, as I said earlier, I really want to have my Switch count as a prize for me. So I lost that, which is totally fine, though, because it's part of the matchup, I would say. And he just draws 3, which I disagree with not touching the Cape here, because if I just go boss, it's going to create some problems, and he does not want my boss to give me 2 prizes by itself. So here, I'm thinking about how aggressive I'm going to be. Look at my discard. Just trying to think, like, I have the Fire, so I have the Knockout, so it's really just, how do I play this? Do I play the Ultra Ball in my hand? Do I use it so I can draw Mew? Because Boss's Orders is such a powerful draw. And I do decide to do that, which I really like at this point. Because the thing is that I just do not want to give him time. And if I just go Knockout active with Dragon Laser, I think that's pretty bad for me. So I fail it. I don't get any Pokemon because I want to be able to still use Dragon Laser here. And I want to keep the flexibility on board. I use my Jamming Tower early because most copies of that, or most versions of Snorlax, play around at most 2 to 3 stadiums. Most of the time we're playing 2 because none of them are playing Temple Sinnoh. And I was able to draw the boss, which was pretty lucky, and I was able to go to 4. And this board's very strong for me because now he needs a copy of Penny to get the Rotom out of play, or a Switch card, which is a little difficult for that deck to find. So here, what he's going to try to go for is a Counter Catcher on my Squawk, in my opinion, is the best play, along with getting a Snorlax into active, because that is going to allow him to gain the most amount of time. And as we see here, he got the Arven, so Kenneth is going to be able to get out a Snorlax in the spot, or if he wants a Mimikyu, so that he would be able to stall a Dragon active, since I cannot attack into his Pokemon currently, which I think both plays are pretty strong. The scary thing about a Mimikyu here is that I can retreat, so if he chose to Counter Catcher my Squawk, then I'd be able to, excuse me, I would be able to just retreat. So, let's see what he does here. Arven, talking about, so I'm pretty sure you only played, I actually think it's list, I'm 99% sure played only 1 copy of Artisan, so the Jamming Tower is actually very strong in this matchup. So, yep, getting the Nest Ball. Let's see what else. Okay, the Fan, his list played a lot of Fans, which is one way of beating Drago, because you're basically attacking them on multiple levels, because you're not only counter catching them often, but you're also able to move energy around so that they also have to either find their energy switch or have to find attachments. So this puts on whole lot of pressure that otherwise is not really possible to do in this matchup. You're trying to remove as many cards as possible, as many avenues as possible, as I'm saying. So let's see. Go switch cart. The counter catcher is going to be around Squawk or the Ogerpon, in my opinion. So he chose Drago here, which I disagree with, because the thing is that Drago, what that does is it allows me to just go attach twice, energy switch, and this attack. So it's going to end up making him use another counter catcher. Or I can be pretty aggressive here. I draw a lot of energy switches. So here, I'll Ultra Ball. I'll fail it. Since I'm worried about Cornerstone, I'm not going to evolve both my Dragos. I'm going to evolve one of them so that I have access to as many options as possible. Let's see. Last two cards in my hands, Drago and Iono. So I'm going to evolve the bench because my thought process is if I get lucky, hit like a prime, I can just use that. I don't want to evolve both though. I got very lucky, hit the prime, and I believe I drew the Iono too, so this is a very strong position for me. I'm trying to decide where I want energy to go, so I'm not sure what to attack with. I chose a Drago because the thing is that what my thought process is that one of the strongest plays could be just locking my Drago with a like 2 Snorlax in play, and I had to VSTAR for switch push prime, and I could have some problems. So let's go Gudra. I'm at 2. Which is, I'm in a great spot, because the thing is that my opponent now, what he needs to do is find a way to force me not be able to use my switch and my prime catcher and discard for prizes. Because if I don't draw very well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep passing until I draw another copy of Iono. Because the thing is that my opponent would not be able to disrupt an item on the bottom of my deck, which is something very important in this matchup. Is when you have like a 20-card deck, what you want to do is just hold on to the Iono and then use your VSTAR along with the Iono, so you can guarantee save that other item on the bottom of your discard pile. Because the issue is that, let's say you just use VSTAR, and you just try and hold the other item that you get, or let's say you take a prime or a boss, and you keep the prime in your hand, they know where it is, and they can just air you. And when you're against a deck that plays a lot of copies of cards like Pokegear, they're usually able to get eerie whenever they want it, especially when you cannot Iono them to a low amount of cards in hand. See, so you took Counter Catcher and Forest. So here, it's probably going to Counter Catcher the Mew. Let's see what he does. So Counter Catcher. He chose my Drago, which I really disagree with here, and he actually will get punished for it, because the issue is by going after my Drago, what that does is all I need is an energy and E-switch, and problems are going to start occurring. Only Kenneth needs right now is time, and if he's able to promote my Squawk, even if I do 20 a turn, I'm not really doing all that much. So I feel that was a little bit stronger of a play. Locking Drago is better, though, than Ogerpon, because Ogerpon is very easy to accelerate in 2 turns, and time is the thing that he needs. Unfortunately, I have to go energy switch and use Gudra, go to 1, and the game is basically over, because the issue is that if he goes into a lone Mimikyu, I can just go like attach return VSTAR for 2 energy switch and win, or if he tries to lock any of my Pokemon, I have VSTAR for switch plus whatever stadium I need or anything else. So the game is practically over. The only way he could win is if he went Mimikyu with a Hero's Cape / Bravery Charm along with a Mist Energy, but I do not believe he has access to that. See what happens here. You find the Artisan, which is a few turns too late. If you drew Artisan a little bit earlier, I think this game would have been a lot more close, but because Artisan was drawn on like turn 6, it was a little too slow, unfortunately. Let's see, he drew, I believe, Penny off the Pokegear, so he's going to be able to just go into the Mimikyu, which is the right play here, because if she uses Snorlax, like I said, I can just go VSTAR for a Jamming Tower and a switch and win on the spot, so he kind of just has to be forced into a low Mimikyu board, which is pretty easy for me to respond, but he kind of has to make me show that I have access to the play. Pokegear again. Not too sure what he's looking for here. I don't think that any other supporter except for Penny is going to be played this turn, so I guess just thinning deck. He does play Mist, so if he's able to dig for Mist later, that'd be pretty helpful. happen. I'm pretty sure you're just going to go Penny here is the best play, like I said, because unfortunately there's no other outs really at this point in the game. And this game was a little weird because usually I feel it's a little slower. I got pretty lucky where every time I thought that would be going to pass, I was able to end up drawing the card I needed immediately. Take a knockout. So it's me just checking Mimikyu here because it was like the first game where I played Nest Ball before going for the win. Is I want to make sure that I know exactly what the card does because there's no reason not to really guarantee that you win the game and just double check everything. Make sure you make no mistakes because if you're in such a favored position to win, you might as well just double check everything. I could technically just kept passing, not go for it, but it's like I might as well. It doesn't hurt me. I had the resources left for even if I miss-win this turn, I'm in pretty strong position. So again, I'm reading the card again. Let's use VSTAR. Now get back to energy switches. Use the 2 on Mew. And just use Ghost Eye for game. But yeah, this was a very interesting match, at least game 2. Game 1 was not very close, but I think that really highlighted how you're supposed to play the matchup. Just make sure you get your Mew down as Drago, and just try to be as aggressive as possible if you're given the option. If not, if your hand's a little slower, it's totally okay for you to pass once you're in a position where you feel safe. All right, guys, so this is my first time doing these match reviews, but I plan on doing more. Next one is going to be me playing at Louisville Regional, and then after that, I'm probably going to go back to older matches of me and others playing that I want to showcase. Till next time, Ian out.